Welcome back to Game Time Decision. I'm Keegan Miller. That's Micah Farmer. This is our Talladega review. Talladega was an interesting one. A few storylines to hit. Then we'll get into our Texas predictions. But let's get right in to Dega.
Texas.
Dega, which is typically the big one, or this time the lack of big one, and maybe the lack of interest in the race fans. So, first thoughts.
Well, first thoughts are, how about Team Penske finally delivering on one of these? And I do find it funny that they did it on the day where they were probably the least dominant we've seen in recent history to Superspeedway. Austin Cindric, you told me he's one of the popular picks in the media area before, and those people know what they're talking about for a reason. Austin Cindric came through, delivered, despite making Joey Logano mad. But as for the racing itself, I don't know what to do at this point other than redesign the car, because multiple drivers have said you can't pull out a line without pulling a parachute. Single car, the Xfinity cars are faster, which is absurd. I just don't know what to do.
There's the argument that you can make the next-gen car faster, but then you're just, with the way the car, with the flat bottom and everything, NASCAR doesn't want, I don't think NASCAR wants to make the cars faster, because then you have a problem of cars getting more airborne, and we're really trying to get them less airborne. So I don't see them giving the cars more horsepower.
Yeah, the cars in their current form are just way too draggy for the amount of power they have. And you saw it. Guys are trying to go out and make a move, went right to the back.
Yep.
It reminded me of you remember the Kyle Busch tweet from last year, the I hate these cars tweet where he said you can't go because if you try to go, you go nowhere?
Yeah.
It's exactly what it felt like today. And I think that's part of the reason I'm worried what this race is going to cause in the future. You look at the finish, great to see a green flag finish finally, but now if you're a driver running third or fourth row on the last lap of one of these things, you know there is no way for you to win unless you cause a wreck at this point.
I see. Okay, I think I have a little bit different perspective on this finish. I think now this is incredibly hard to do because you're not talking to each other and you can't coordinate.
Bring back proximity chat.
Honestly, no, that may be a way to make this happen. Because if you had you and the car behind you, if y'all both pulled out and tried to get across the leader, let's say you did it entering the tri-oval or at the tri-oval, I think you get by him. I think if it's 2v1 and you still pull out, I think he's left out alone, so he's got to back up. So I do think that if you can somehow coordinate, I don't know if it's hand out the window like with the finger up, like let's go now. I don't know how that is, but I do think, like, I'm honestly really shocked. You had Byron and Bowman.
Yeah.
What happened?
They just pushed Ryan Preece the entire way.
Yeah, and I feel like that should have at least tried.
It's really everyone was scared. The car is so draggy that everyone's scared.
Everyone was very. You could see it, and it clicked in my head yesterday. I've noticed it every Superspeedway the last 2 years. They drive timid. They all drive timid. You're wondering. You're watching your favorite driver, whoever that is. You're watching him, and he's mid-pack, and you're going, why doesn't he do this? Why does he do that? They're timid. They don't want to because of what could happen if, they don't get everything perfectly lined up, which is what you have to pass.
And it's totally killed the whole, ride at the back, save your stuff kind of approach to Superspeedway racing because you can't get through the pack anymore. If you want to ride in the back, you get maybe stage 1. And from that point, you have to have track position, especially with how the pit cycles work now.
Yeah. But what we brought up, the proximity chat, that may be a way to bring it back. I don't know how you would do it, and as far as because they can't scroll through an iPhone and select what driver.
Well, I mean, if you got proximity, you could have front, behind, next to you. That'd be super easy to do. We've seen it before in the tandem drafting days, so I personally would be down. Keegan thinks it's a way to fix it. Let us know what you think. Should NASCAR bring back proximity chat as a way to try to improve the Superspeedway racing? You never know. We're almost out of options that NASCAR is willing to try, so maybe.
I bet Joey Logano wish he had proximity chat.
Yeah, and let's segue into that now. Is Joey Logano after, I believe it was stage 1?
Stage 2.
Stage 2.
Bubba Wallace won stage 2, and nobody knows because this is the bigger storyline for stage 2.
So Bubba Wallace got pushed to the line by Joey Logano, but behind him was Austin Cindric, who kind of jumped weirdly out of line.
Yeah, he got a hard push and got a little loose.
Yeah, and I think first off, if you're Joey Logano and you watch that back,
there's
you're
way
lucky Austin Cindric didn't wreck you.
Yeah, there's
trying to save that
way
car.
You're still mad at him.
Yeah.
My problem, I have no problem with what he said in the time being, except for maybe you pushed a Toyota. That's the only thing I kind of
have a problem with just letting it all out on your teammate for stage 2.
These guys.
Just purely from I know this might not be what everyone wants to hear, but from a team relations PR standpoint, I don't think that's good. If you're Penske, you're not. And I know we want to see more driver personality, but is it really good for you to have teammates just absolutely ripping each other to shreds over a stage win?
But like the thing that really threw me over the edge was post race, and I don't think when he was asked, I'm like 100% sure he hadn't seen, especially the in-car cameras, a real replay. Because when he doubled down on it, then I was like, okay, you've had all of stage 3 to kind of cool down and forget about that.
But if you're that mad,
and
wreck him. If you're that mad, wreck him.
Well, I don't want that. No one wants that.
Well, it's Joey Logano. That's how he deals with things in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad he didn't. But he wanted another
maybe not wreck him, but sure ship him into turn 3 and hang back and go. Like there are ways.
It's 5:00 on a Monday. I'm sure they've talked about it and they've kind of been like, we're cool, whatever. I'd hope so. Well, it's very interesting to see if they hadn't. But yeah, let us know if you think that if it's justified because he's a driver, he's hot in the moment, this and that, or if you're on with the side of most people and Chipper Jones, and it's just unacceptable. And if you think they'll make up or not.
One thing I do want to talk about though is we talked about this side of Penske all day. How about the other side of Penske, where apparently Roger Penske has gained access to witchcraft and has decided to direct all of Penske's bad luck onto the 12 car. Yeah. The fact that he got essentially pit maneuvered randomly by 2 cars, and of course it's
barely got caught up in
Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch coming together yet again, and just Ryan Blaney. It's the most 2025 Ryan Blaney thing that could have possibly happened. Not remotely his fault. Was doing pretty much everything right, hanging in the back, chilling out, just gets obliterated.
Yeah, you feel bad for the guy. I mean, you can't not at this point. Whether you love the guy, hate the guy, I mean, it sucks to be Ryan Blaney right now.
People that hate Ryan Blaney.
I don't think so either, but I mean, if you do right now, you're starting to feel for him. And Kyle Larson talked a little bit about being the underdog at super speedways and kind of how maybe that was part of the crowd, getting in with him when he won stage 1. Ryan Blaney just may be an underdog to finish a race now.
Yeah.
So he may become the fan favorite very soon just to finish a race.
You look about a month and a bit ago, we were talking about Ryan Blaney as a potential regular season championship challenger right up in that top 3, top 5. He's now all the way down to 8th in points, just 2 points ahead of Alex Bowman.
Which, honestly...
And still the highest forward in the championship.
Yeah, I was thinking, in my head, 8th seems high for just the amount of, bad finishes he's had that weren't his fault.
It's because the stage points. Are coming in clutch.
Bad finish. He wasn't the only one. Toyota as a whole.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about it because I think there's a lot of things that happened that maybe the final box score sheet looks one way, but in reality I think it's something completely different. And that's their strategy. I think that, they really pushed the needle in stage 1. They said, hey, we're going to get our guys. It was mostly 2311 and JGR, which are really the only Toyota teams that...
Hey, Legacy Motor Club exists.
Yeah, they exist.
John Check was doing donuts in the middle of the race.
It was really those guys who were like, okay, we're going to get together. We're going to go to the point. So hopefully, if something does happen with this 4-wide, because it is hard to do that. I know it's boring to watch. It's extremely hard to do that. They wouldn't be at the front of it. So if something were to happen, they're not involved. But they also force the hands of other teams and make every other team do this with their playbook. Okay, you can't use that because now they've completely shaken up what everybody thought was going to be a cookie-cutter strategy. They've thrown it out the window and been like, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to burn field. And I think, now, you had Brad and Busch getting into each other, coming into pit road, and that kind of threw the strategy for a loop a little bit. I think it would have worked. And I hope this isn't a one-and-done scenario because they finished the race so poorly, but I think there was a lot of circumstances that happened in that. And then late in the race, they were the first ones to pit. And then, you had the Ross Chastain thing kind of get into them and mess up their whole momentum. So who knows if it would have been like a pack of 3 for a little bit and all different pit cycles have been 3 wide. But yeah, let me know
they were making it work all day.
And so let me know if I'm sure you'd want to see more of that strategy because everyone's complaining about the cookie cutter strategy. But let me know how you think it would have shaken up if they didn't kind of get thrown off with the caution in stage 1 and the second caution in stage 2 or stage 1. really messed up their strategy because they took out one of their own guys.
And I think that this absolutely would have worked. You look at laps led today, Ty Gibbs at the top with 32, Chase Briscoe second with 20, and the highest non-Toyota is Anthony Alfredo with 19, which was fun.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone thought he was going to win that race because of his slightly offset fuel strategy, but still great.
But if he caught a caution right,
yeah,
and at Talladega, they are going to come down for fuel.
Well,
every chance they can.
At Talladega, what you do know is that there's going to be 4 cautions because I believe it's now 3 races in a row that have had exactly 4 cautions at Talladega. Yep. So all I'm saying is, if you get to the 4th caution and you're at a Talladega race, there's not going to be any more. So
there wasn't a single caution in stage 2 or 3. The only caution from the green flag drop in stage 2 was the stage break, which was which hasn't been seen. And I know stage 3 was 62 straight green flag laps. Most since like 2004 at a super speedway. But without that stage break, we're looking at a record maybe.
How many times did you say 28 cars finished on the lead lap at Talladega?
Yeah,
and then a further
that was a wreck last year. 28 cars.
Yeah, a further 4 finished 1 or 2 laps down. So of your field of 39. 32 of them completed 186 or more of the 188 laps, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, not a lot of people had to go with wrecked race cars, but there are a few who did. So what are your thoughts? One of them was
still Brad Keselowski. Oh my gosh. If the 6 team had no luck, they'd have no luck at all, but unfortunately for them, they also have no speed. It's like if Ryan Blaney was slow this year, that they cannot figure it out, and we talked about they needed stage points at this race. It's a track that Brad's good at.
Well, I beg to differ. They need a win now.
Yeah, at this point they need a win. I think you have to agree they need a win. You go to the standings, and Brad Keselowski is now behind Noah Gragson. He is 32nd in points. Just an absolute disaster.
The only full-time Ford behind him, there's 2. I forget Cody Ware's full-time. Cole Custer and Cody Ware. Those are the only 2 full-time Fords behind Brad Keselowski.
The only full-time cars behind him are Riley Herbst, SVG, Cole Custer, and Cody Ware.
Yeah.
It's not good. He's behind Eric Jones. He's behind Ty Dillon. He's behind John Hunter Nemechek.
Justin Haley.
It's an awful season so far. This would almost be the worst season of Brad's career for me so far.
It has to be.
It has to, because he was good as a young driver. So I don't know what is going wrong with Jeremy Bullins, Brad Keselowski in that 6 car this year, but I don't know if it's fixable at this point. He is almost a full 100 points out of the playoffs already.
I think if he gets a win, I don't think it'll turn his whole season around where he would just get a win and then be at the front every week. But I think a win will really help this team go a long ways. Obviously, it'll lock him into the playoffs.
But at this point, I can't pick him to win anywhere. I can't pick him to finish top 10 anywhere.
You have Daytona coming up later in the week.
He has 0 top 10s this year.
Yeah, but it's Daytona. And we know how crazy that.
Talladega.
Yeah, but we know how crazy that it's a cutoff race. So we know how crazy that a Daytona cutoff race is. So we'll see.
When a guy has no top 10s at this point in the year, the only other drivers with no top 10s at this point, Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland, Ty Dillon, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, a heartbreaker for Ty Dillon yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
Ran out of fuel in the final lap.
He was running so well.
Running well. But...
Yeah, and you did hear that right, by the way. Cody Ware has Cody Ware doesn't have a top 10. Jimmy Johnson... I was looking at the wrong column, excuse me.
Okay.
So it's Cody Ware, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, Eric Jones, and Ty Dillon that joined Brad Keselowski on the no top 10s brigade.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Brad Keselowski, his teammate and... I guess driver that he owns, Ryan Preece.
Well, he owns the car. Let's.
yeah.
Brad Keselowski does not own Ryan Preece.
Yeah, I think they knew that. But yeah. Oh, but also Brad follows him on Twitter. So
big news.
Yeah, big breaking news.
But anyway, let's talk about Dairy Queen here.
Finishes second. Really close to getting his first win. Man,
it's better that he didn't. Looking back,
yes, I agree. That would have, especially after Rockingham last week.
Yeah,
it would have been rough. So finishes second, close, heartbreak for him, and then if like an hour and a half later, more heartbreak, got DQ'd.
As well as Joey
to the
Logano.
Rear. Joey Logano also DQ'd. Logano is not appealing. I don't think we've heard.
We haven't heard from Prius to this
but
point.
I'd assume with what the penalty is, I don't think they'll appeal. And if they do, I don't think they'll.
It was an extra part on the spoiler, was it not?
Right. So
that's not something you're going to say, oh,
yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty black and white. That's like Joe Logano's was missing a bolt. Okay, you can't point to this hole where the bolt's supposed to be like, oh, well, the bolt may be there. Like, those are pretty black and white penalties. So both those guys probably DQ'd for good. And yeah. But before we get to Texas, the ever exciting Texas, one more thing for Talladega, the Denny Hamlin incident with Christopher Bell. Do you just chalk racing incident?
It is what it is. Okay, I mean, you're coming out of turn 2. You're coming off the banking. We see that happen
You drive
every year.
You drive a pointy Toyota.
Yeah, you see that happen every year. Although I will say the camera angle they were showing from where I was on pit road, it absolutely looked like Christopher Bell just tried to clear himself off the 17. It wasn't until they showed replay that you could tell that Hamlin hit him. So there were a lot of people very mad at Denny Hamlin for a couple minutes.
Yeah, the racing incident. But another racing incident. Texas still being on the schedule.
It's bold of you to call it racing.
Yeah.
A procession incident.
Yeah. The drivers aren't particularly excited to be here. The fans aren't particularly excited to watch.
The fans are not going to be there.
But it's going to happen, so we're going to talk about it a little bit, as little as we can.
Hooray.
Who's your pick?
Well, if Martin Truex is still racing, this would be the easiest Martin Truex pick ever. He just thrives at these boring races. But I'm going to go Kyle Larson, and I've got a fun fact as to why.
What is it?
Every single time, all 2 of them, that Austin Cindric has won previously in the Cup Series, Kyle Larson wins the next race. Who won Talladega? Austin Cindric. Give me Kyle Larson again for the 3rd time this season, and it's not just that. Hendrick Motorsports is always very good at Texas. We saw Chase Elliott take home the win here last year, and I think Larson has more speed than Byron right now. Bowman is going to do Bowman things. He's probably going to finish 5th or 6th, and then Chase Elliott will run 12th all day.
Yeah, I love that logic. I love that pick. I don't think you can go wrong. I'm going Bubba Wallace. I think this is the second time I picked him this year because he's going to break through this year. He's having his career best year.
If he doesn't win this year, I'll be amazed with the speed he's shown.
He's having his career best year so far. He's been well. He runs well at Texas. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those tracks for him, like Kansas, that he runs well at. So he's led 116 laps here, and his average finish is around 11th. So a pretty good resume for him, and I think with the equipment he's in, they always run well here at Texas. So I think there's a pretty good chance but Wallace gets it done.
One guy I think to keep your eye on over his last 3 races here, Chase Briscoe does have an average finish of 7. Daniel Suarez also a top 10 average finish here for the last few races. Some guys to keep your eye on. But as we move into the dark horses, there's a bit more leniency this week since Texas is usually such a chalk race.
Yeah.
And I'm going Carson Hocevar. He's had speed the last couple weeks. Should have finished top 5 at Bristol. Got robbed by the jack falling off. Had an abysmal pit stop at Talladega where he was kind of not parked in the box.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the 77 for a potential dark horse this week. And here's where the leniency comes in because Keegan's gone with...
Well, it was going to be Carson Hocevar until I was given some slack, if you will. I went Ross Chastain. He ran really well here last year. I think he's at the top in average finish here recently. He's got an average finish of 15th. So he's in the
13th among active drivers. It's not at the top.
Yeah. So, but it's Texas. But I think Ross Chastain, he ran. I'm kind of going off last year because he only raced here once a year. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness there are not 2 Texas dates anymore. That would be severely depressing.
I'm going Ross Chastain, and we had Darlington, Bristol, which Bristol's exciting for its own reasons because you had just a driver showing a skill. Yeah. Then you had Talladega, and now we're going to Texas.
Yeah, it's a rough stretch of the schedule. It's like how F1 is about to do like Miami, Spain, Monaco, and another snoozer of a track.
But I think the fans are going to crash out after Texas to the point where NASCAR may make a decision about Texas.
Nah. They get too much money from Texas.
I'm not saying not racing in Texas. I'm saying do something about the track.
I mean, they've tried a lot. What more are you going to do? You can't make it colder.
Turn it into Atlanta. They're trying to turn Kansas into Atlanta. Why? Why take Kansas into Atlanta when you have Texas? That'd be the perfect market for that. Turn Texas into Atlanta. Yeah, what are we doing?
It needs to be Texas.
You're trying to build Atlanta in Fontana. You're trying to build Atlanta in Kansas. Build it in Texas.
Yeah. But
what?
Thankfully, coming up on the schedule after Texas, we do have Kansas, and then the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and then the Coke 600 at Charlotte. So some good things to look forward to up next on the schedule. But that'll be it for NASCAR today. Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to check out the other sports from this week, F1 and MLB content will also be out on the channel later this week. But this has been your NASCAR GTD. That's Keegan. I'm Micah. We'll see you later in the week. Also, go check out the TikTok and Instagram. We got Reels coming up now, so we're trying to break into the short form on that side, get you some clips from the show if you missed the full episode. So if you want to see that, check that out. It'll be over there.
Yes.